All right. Yesterday we left off talking about savings accounts and how important they are. Once again, I just want to remind you that everybody should set an initial goal of $10,000. Easy enough to obtain if you put in $25 a week. Within inside of 7 years, you will have $10,000 in savings. So if you start at 18, by the time you're 25 years old, about the time you're getting out of college or getting into those career jobs, you'll have $10,000 sitting in savings. There's your down payment for your house, all the deposits for your first apartment or home. You have all those things right there for you. As you make more money, obviously you need to adjust how much you keep in savings. The golden rule is 3 months of living income. So if you need $5,000 a month to live, you need to have at least $15,000 in your savings account. Now, CDs. What do you do with extra money that you have more than 3 months in your savings? You don't want to leave $100,000 in a savings account. Why? Well, it's slow grow. I mean, it's extremely safe. That money is protected by insurance. You're always going to be able to have access to it. Usually there's very few penalties in withdrawing it. There's a whole lot of things, but it's not making a lot of money. Remember, you're only talking about 1 to 3% on a savings account. Usually most people are getting around 2% return on their money in a savings account. So think of it as your emergency oh crap fund, but you don't need to leave your entire fortune in a savings account. That's foolish. So what do you do with beyond 3 months worth of income? Well, as you begin developing more and more resources and more money, now that you've got your savings account built up. And by the way, remember, anytime you use your savings account, you need to replenish it. That means put money back in it by, once again, saving. But once you've gotten that squared away, what do you do with the extra money that you're saving? Well, every so often, as you build up a certain amount of money, you can do what is called buy a CD. Now, what is a CD? CDs are like a savings account, but they are slow grow, but faster. They operate on somewhere in the neighborhood between 3 and 6%. Is your return on them. So you're going to double your interest return on them. So what is the difference between a CD and a savings account? Well, a CD, you purchase a CD, you buy you put the money in. It's a certified deposit, is why it's called a CD, or certificate of deposit. What you do is you agree to put that money in there for a period of time, whether that be 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. That is up to you on the length of time in which you are willing to not touch that money. Now, what you're going to do is you're basically guaranteeing the bank that you're going to leave that money there. And by doing that, it allows them to lend your money to other people more vigorously. They can send it out and put it in someone's car. Then as that's paid back, they can put it into someone's house, things like that. And they don't have to worry about you coming and getting it. So in exchange for that security for the bank to be able to use your money to lend to other people, they are going to promise to give you a bigger share of the interest that they are making from your money. Once again, most people, if you're on a personal note, let's say you borrow $5,000 from the bank, chances are you're going to be paying 10 to 15% on that loan. In that case, they're using somebody else's money from a CD to loan you that money. Well, they're going to give them, part of that money. If they're collecting 12% and someone has a 6% CD, they're giving half the interest back to the original lender of the money. So back to the person who had the certificate of deposit, the CD, is going to be getting back a good chunk of that money. So this is why they offer you a higher interest rate. on CDs. And this is because the bank can vigorously use your money to make them money. Remember, banks make money by you paying interest if you borrow money from them. So that's how banks stay in business. So, this is the thing. Now, the thing I want you to do understand is with CDs, if you need that money, you can get that money back. So let's say you have $5,000, you put it in a 5-year CD, and it's been in there for 2 years, and suddenly your car engine explodes, and you need $5,000 fast to put a new engine in your car. You can take that CD and you can get your money back. But because you are breaking your promise not to touch that money for 5 years, there is a penalty. Usually what happens is you lose half of the interest that you have earned. So if you've earned 5% on that CD for the last 2 years at $5,000, you're looking at losing a couple $100 easy, probably $300-400 from the amount that they're going to pay you. They're going to give you back your money, but you're not going to get all the interest because you have broken your promise on that CD. You cashed it in early. So there's a penalty. And sometimes that's just a flat number, but most of the time it's set to the amount of interest that you have and the amount of time that you left it in there. So, if you have $15,000 sitting in your savings account and you only need $12,000 in there, I would highly suggest that you buy a couple or at least one $3,000 CD. Put some of that money into CDs. It's still safe, but it's growing faster than leaving it just in a savings account. Remember, savings accounts 1 to 2% generally speaking, and CDs are in between 3 and 6%. Obviously, if you get a CD at 5 or 6%, you need to grab that up quick. That is seriously a good CD interest rate. And the same kind of thing with your savings account. If you have a savings account that's giving you 2 to 3%, you need to grab that quick because those are high amounts. Those don't come around very often. So keep that in mind. So you collect the interest over a period of time, and you can do something called a rollover, which is when a CD matures and you put it in there for 5 years. You can just go back and take that now plus the interest and roll it over. So instead of having $5,000, you've now made an extra $1,200 by leaving it in the bank for the last 5 years. So you have $6,200. Now you can put it back in, roll it over into a $6,200 CD for another 5 years. And in 5 years, that $5,000 will now be because you've rolled it over again. It's now inside of 10 years, you've doubled your money in 10 years. So you've got a CD that started out at 5,000. After 5 years, you had over 6,000. Now, after another 5 years, you've got over 10,000. And if you look at it this way, you're making real money with that money. And it's really, really cool to do that as well. So this is a good way. It's safe, it's guaranteed, and it's there for you if you need it. However, if you take it out early, just remember there is a penalty. So there you go. That's how CDs work. I would keep, another 10, 15,000, whatever your 3 month supply is that you need. I would try to have that much in CDs. So if you've got, let's say you need $15,000 to have in your savings account, I would try to get $15,000 eventually in CDs at some point. You're building your financial independence. By the way, if you're keeping $15,000 in CDs, then you're earning, $1,000 every year on that CD. So, there you go. You've got another 3 month supply. You've got a half a year's income to pay bills with if something bad was to happen. And right now is a good example of something bad happening. This is unprecedented. We haven't seen anything like this, in 100 years, not since the Spanish flu in the early 1900s, or the polio outbreak in the 1930s and 40s. We haven't seen anything like this in a very, very long time. So, um, today this would be really, really helpful if you were a person who's out of work. I was hearing reports that, you've got over 20 million Americans right now out of work, and these are businesses that will not be coming back. They have gone out of business because of this. So most of these people are going to be unemployed and permanently unemployed. Well, permanently until they find a new job. Once everything goes back to normal. So this could really make a huge difference if someone had this. And the sad part here is most Americans are not prepared for bad times like this. Most of us are usually only have about 30 days worth of emergency funding. Even I myself only have about 2 months. I am definitely on the negative end of this, and wish that I had 3 months worth of income in my savings, and I wish I had 3 months worth of income in CDs. That would make a huge difference in security. So think about that. All right, so what do you do if you've got, $10,000, $15,000 in CDs? Well, that leads us to IRAs, individual retirement accounts. Now, all of you are going to eventually have jobs in businesses and stuff. And the old way of doing things was to just simply go with your company's retirement plan. This is where your company invests in a IRA or has some sort of set up retirement system where you work for that company for 40 years and then you cash it out and you retire. You basically get your paycheck till you die, in order to help you retire and not have to work for your entire life. Now that's all well and good, but today most people don't keep the same job forever. Matter of fact, in my life, I have had 5 jobs in my adult life. So, in, well, almost 30 years, yeah, almost 30 years of adult life after high school. I've been out of high school almost 30 years. I've had less than 5 jobs. That's now, I've always carried 1 or 2 jobs at the same time, but I'm thinking of retirement jobs. We're talking about jobs in which I could have worked for them and eventually set up a retirement from. I'm not talking about my side hustles. Okay. In my lifetime, my generation was expected to have 5, maybe to 10 jobs in my life. My parents, their generation, were expected to have less than 5 career jobs in their life. I know that my dad has had 3 jobs his entire adult life. 3 jobs. That is incredible. You, on the other hand, your generation, millennials and Generation I and so forth and so on, I know that you guys aren't millennials, but the Generation I, which I believe is what they call your group because y'all have been around since the invention of the iPhone, you are predicted to have 30 career jobs before you retire. That means about every year to every year and a half, you're going to change jobs. Now, we're not talking about working at McDonald's. We're talking about career jobs. One of the things that we have seen trending with millennials is that when they are looking for advancement, they have discovered that the easiest way to advancement is by shifting jobs to a new company. If they don't feel like they're being advanced quick enough in the company that they're at, they apply for a higher job at another company, and if they get that, they move laterally upwards into another company, and that's the way that they do it. Most of them staying for a little less than 2 years at any one job before shifting to the next bigger and better job. That being said, you're not going to have 40 years with one company. Those are going to be very rare indeed. So you need to have an IRA. These are individual retirement accounts. This is where you deposit your money. You set up a retirement system of your very own, and you can take this with you. Remember this. IRAs, when you set them up on your own, you take the money with you. So it doesn't matter if you work at a company for 1 year. You are still going to be working with that IRA, putting money in that IRA every single year, regardless of where you work. So you deposit money and begin saving for retirement. This is super smart. Now, what's cool about an IRA, basically what they're going to do, an IRA is a company that takes your money along with other people who are in your IRA system, and they join all your money with those other people's money, and then they go to the stock market and they basically gamble. It's like Vegas, baby. They go to the stock market with your money, and they actually invest your money in the stock market and try to grow your money faster than you are. Now, these people are professionals who have degrees in business, and they are professional people who know how to use the stock market. These are your brokers, and they know how to make money grow. And it is very easy for them in, say, 20 years to double, triple, quadruple, maybe even more than that, your money in the stock market. Now, one of the cool things is I have an IRA with being a pastor, and I have thousands of dollars stuck into my retirement system, my IRA, for being a pastor. And what's really cool about the one that I have is I can actually go online and monitor what they're doing, and I can even ask them how to invest my money. Now, I'm not telling them what stocks to buy, but they actually have an indicator slide on mine, and what it does is it has all the way to the right, it lists as risky. And all the way to the left, they have safe. Now, there's safe stocks in the stock market, things that you can put money in, maybe putting money into the gold exchange, or buying stocks in companies that almost virtually never see major grow or major losses. One of my favorite ones that is considered to be a very, very safe stock is Johnson & Johnson. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the same people that bring you baby wipes and baby butt ointment, and they make diapers, and they make all sorts of a lot of stuff for children, Q-tips and things like that. Why is this a safe economy, a safe market? Because they make products that people use every single day, and they rarely have a sudden growth or sudden rush on them. People buy diapers when they have kids. People buy, Q-tips for their babies, and Johnson & Johnson shampoo, baby shampoo for children. And the numbers of children being born and the numbers of diapers being used stays fairly constant. So what ends up happening is that company sees a very slow grow, but it's constant. It doesn't have ups and downs on the stock market. So if you buy a lot in Johnson & Johnson, your money's very safe there. It's still gambling, but it's gambling like almost on a sure thing. Whereas other companies like, when you're looking at restaurants right now, if you were investing in Apple South, which owns Applebee's and Sagebrush and Texas Steakhouse Saloons, that's a company that owns those businesses. Because of the coronavirus, the stock in those companies has plummeted because all their stores are basically closed, except for carry out and pickup. So they've seen a drastic drop in stock. On the other hand, toilet paper has gone through the roof. So the Charmin company, those stocks are jumping around drastically right now. In the past, we would have said buying stock in Electronics was a gamble. They have ups and they have downs. Every time a new phone comes out for Apple, you will see a growth in Apple stock. If that phone turns out to be a dud, you'll see a drop in Apple stock. So, there's, when they came out with the X phone, it was disappointing. People expected the X to be, or actually the 8 to be really, really awesome. They got the 6, and then they came out with the 7, which was almost basically the same, and then they came out with the 8, and everybody looked at it and was like, huh? So, there you are. And then they went to the 10, and people are still kind of wondering whether or not this is even a new phone. It looks exactly like the last phone. The question here is what does that do to their stock? It goes up and it goes down, and sometimes it can be very erratic. And that's just one company. So when I go on to my IRA, I can slide the needle to the middle. That's where I've got mine set right now, which because I am sort of, I'm pushing up, getting closer to 50, and I want to retire in another 15, 20 years. I don't want to play it completely safe, but I have about half the money that I have in there being put into safe commodities. So they're buying stocks that are safe, like Johnson & Johnson and other things that don't change very often. On the other hand, half my money they're throwing into the risky category. They're gambling with half of my money. As I get closer to retirement, I'm going to want to protect what I have. So the closer I get to retirement, the more I'm going to slide it into the safe zone. If I was 20 years old and just starting out, I would slide it all the way over to the red zone to gamble, baby, roll the dice, because I want to see my money grow really fast. And if the stock market goes out from underneath itself and drops, okay, no big deal. I've got another 30 years of life, working life, to earn that money back. So, that's really cool. IRAs are fantastic for being able to do that. And that's a new thing that you see with IRAs, the ability to try to help control how they put your money in there. But even more importantly, it doesn't matter where you work. You get to keep that money. Now, IRAs allow the depositors to save your income without being taxed for it to grow over time. So the money that you're putting into there is not taxable, so you're not paying taxes on it. So you actually are getting about 30 cents more on the dollar into the market, and you don't have to pay taxes on your IRA until the day you cash out, which saves you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes, because you'll only make the one tax payment at the end of your IRA. So your money is bigger, more of it's being used, it's growing faster, it also isn't being taxed, it doesn't go against your income taxes when you pay at the end of the year, unless you cash out, and you're basically getting your more money in the market working for you faster. So have a savings account, buy some CDs, definitely get an IRA. And by the way, when you're getting all of these things, this is what they call, when you hear people talk about diversifying your portfolio, having multiple streams of income in multiple baskets. You've got your everyday working money in your savings account. You've got your oh crap money in your, you have your everyday working money in your checking account. You have your oh crap money in your savings account. You have emergency funds still in slow grow, but protected, faster slow grow, in CDs. And now you have fast growth money in your IRA, planning for your 40-year retirement. This is how you are able to retire at 55 or 58 years old, or before you're 60, because you invested and you did all these things correctly. This is going to make it so that when your kids are off to college, you're paying for their college right then and there, cash, no loans, and they're going to have a better start in life. You're going to be able to have that house at the beach and the house at home. And you don't have to be a financial mogul to have these things. You just have to be a real penny pincher while you're working as an adult, saving and preparing and protecting yourself financially. So this is really, really important stuff. IRAs are awesome, and if you're going to be changing a lot of jobs, and that's what we predict, you definitely need an IRA. By the way, as a teacher, I am in a state-controlled retirement system, which is old school. However, I have the option of getting involved in a side retirement system as well, double retirement, in a 401 or a 401b. It's the A, the K, and the B. There's a whole bunch of them. But I can get involved in an IRA through my insurance company and through the retirement systems. So not only can I be with the state of North Carolina retirement, but I could also set up one of these things on the side so that I can actually collect two retirements. However, remember, it's taking money out of my checks, so less money for my pay, but it's pre-taxed, so I don't pay taxes on it. It's taken out before taxes, which means for every dollar I put in there, I'm 33% of that is taxes that I would have lost to pay. 33% I would have lost to taxes will now be put into an IRA. So it's kind of cool. Diversify. Make sure you guys understand stuff. Now, today we're going to talk about credit card debt and how credit cards work. You know what? We're at 26 minutes on this video. I'm going to pause here today, and tomorrow I'm going to talk about credit card debt and how those type things, and start talking about other things you need to know about loans and that stuff. So tomorrow's credit cards and loans. All right, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.